In this video, we're going to take a look at a bunch of things that I've done recently and combine them all together. Essentially, what we're going to have is a click to reveal with audio, closed captions, multi-state objects, and forced navigation. My name is Paul Wilson, and I make tutorials about e-learning, specifically with the authoring tool Adobe Captivate. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and by all means share this video with your e-learning colleagues. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a relatively simple click to reveal and add some of the things I've done in recent videos, like, for example, add AI voices for audio narration. We're also going to add closed captions for those very same voices. And we're also going to do a little bit of forced navigation as well here, just so you're aware that it can be done. I'm not necessarily a fan of forced navigation, but when you work in the e-learning business, invariably a stakeholder is going to ask for it. So let's get started here. All right, so I have this project that you see on my screen here. It's just a single slide right now. The 4 stages of the space flight program. Click on each button to learn more. That's going to be the slide audio. And I haven't done any kind of programmatic stuff yet. We just have 4 buttons here in a button block. Immediately after that, we've got this multi-state object that can switch between the different stages of the NASA programs, including a default state where there's nothing. And over here we have an image, again, a completely transparent image, which will get replaced by the single-person capsule, the Gemini. The Gemini is the next. The Apollo program, which is a 3-person capsule, and then eventually the space shuttle there. Once you've clicked on all 4 of these objects, we're going to enable the next button. One of the things that I realized later in the game of the all-new Adobe Captivate is that you can right-click on an object such as this and disable it during publish. So when we first launch this slide, the next button will be disabled, and its action will be to go to next slide. I don't have a next slide yet, but let's assume that that's going to be in place there. In fact, let's do that. Let's just make sure there is a next slide to go to, and I'll ensure that the action for this is to go to the next slide. There we go. So what I want to do at this stage here is go over to my project properties, and underneath enable avatars for this project, we're going to customize avatar. We have a choice here. We can do one of several things. We can do audio only, and if you wanted to stick with a particular voice throughout the entire course, that might be a good way to go. You could certainly select an avatar such as James. We can listen to his voice here and see what he sounds like there. Let's see if we can find James. There he is.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration.
Let's use him actually, and you know what? Let's use the image of him as well. We'll take it to a whole new level. I'm going to put a round shape around him, and the solid fill will be like maybe a dark gray, just to distinguish it from the background, which is black, but I don't want it to be like white, too much contrast. So we'll go ahead and apply that. He will be our avatar for this slide and others. We can go to the Properties Inspector for the Visual Properties Inspector. Excuse me. Let's click the slide itself and enable the avatar here. Let's go back here and ensure that our avatar is enabled. And the students can place James wherever they wish. I'm going to have him start just sort of up here, and then they can click on and drag him to wherever they wish. I'll go here to our regular slide here, and what we're going to do is we'll generate avatar, and on slide enter, we're just going to say this slide represents the 4 stages of the space flight program in the United States. Click on each button to learn more. Okay, that takes care of that. We'll click next there. And I'm going to trigger the remaining narration by clicking these buttons here. So let's click on Add a New Transcript. And rather than choosing Slide Enter, which is already used up with our introductory narration, we're going to click Tab, and we're going to choose button number 4, which is the single person capsule. And I'm going to paste in the text for that. I've already got that there. So let's click Next. We can add a new transcript, basically one for every single button that we're going to press. I'm going to have on-screen text as well. It doesn't mean that you have to have the same text. In fact, there's advantages to not having the same text, because when I use this audio narration, there will be closed captions as well. So it should be fairly inclusive there. The next program was the Gemini program. So again, I'll paste in the text I have for that. Press Next, and we'll scroll down a ways and we'll add a new transcript. Click Tab, and we'll choose the Apollo program, and we'll paste in that text there. I put a quotation mark around that, but I want to get rid of that. And then we can click Next. And that leaves one button to go, and that's about the space shuttle here. So I'm going to just copy that text, and we'll click on Add New Transcript, click Tab, Space Shuttle button, and we'll paste that in there and then press Next. Now we can go ahead and press Generate, and it will start working with the AI voices to generate not only the narration but the animation for our character here to produce as well. So we'll go ahead and press Generate. The nice thing about the all-new Adobe Captivate is that I don't have to sit here and wait for it to finish doing what it needs to do here. We can start programming out what we want to see here. So when someone clicks on the single person capsule, we can go to Actions, and we can set the state of our various objects here. Single person capsule there is this one. And we can reset state on slide revisit. In other words, it will return back to the default state. And we also want to set the state of our text, which will appear on screen there, to the Gemini program, which is the single person capsule. Again, we'll reset state on slide revisit. And let's see here, and that takes care of that. And we can do something similar for the Gemini program. And what we'll do is when we click on that, we'll set the state of our text to be the Gemini program. Click Next, reset on slide revisit, done. And then we'll also set the state of our image to be the Gemini program, which shows a couple of guys in a Gemini capsule there. Not sure which astronauts, but I don't think it matters. And then we have our Apollo program, so we'll select that. Set state of our image to the Apollo program capsule. Done. Add a new action. Set the state of our text to reflect the Apollo program. Next, reset state on slide revisit, and then done. And I seem to have lost this is Apollo, and set the state of the text to Apollo. Next, reset state, and done. There we go. Let me just double check here. Sometimes I get confused. Apollo, okay, last but not least is the space shuttle. We will set the state of our on-screen text to be that of the space shuttle. Next, reset state on slide revisit, and done. And we'll do another one here, set state of our image to be the space shuttle. Next, reset, done. So that takes care of that. Now there is a next button here, and again, I've set it up so that it will be disabled when you arrive on this slide the first time. But what I want to do is have a slide level interaction that looks at the condition of whether I've clicked on all 4 of these items or not. So we'll click on the plus icon, we'll click on objects clicked, and we'll select all 4 of our buttons here. Press next, and we're going to go to more, and we're going to enable our next button. Next, and done. Let's take a look at our progress here with our character here. Let's view the transcripts. Still working away on 1. Again, the nice thing about Adobe Captivate 12 and again, the next nice thing about Adobe Captivate 13 is that it will continue to work. I can go do something else at this point and then come back to that. I can even go make a sandwich or whatever, but I don't need to worry about these being completed before I start something else in this project there. So we'll just wait a little while longer. Obviously, this is a lot of text. And we'll maybe set up a few other things while we're at it here. So in this case here, maybe what I want is a nice, 1366, and let's go 100% so it fills my browser. Scroll down a ways here. Still working on the videos here. We'll just let it do its thing there. We won't show the play bar because again, the next button will take the learner to the next slide and so on. We will show closed captions. You can customize your table of contents if you want to show it at all, but you can also customize the play bar. So if you did want to show a play bar, you could maybe hide the next button so that they can't move forward until this slide is finished. But this is fine the way it is here. And we'll just wait for it. Almost done, 92%, 93%. Okay, I think we're about to be finished because it's at 99% here. That last 1%'s taken forever. Okay, I think we're getting closer now. Well, it looks like we're ready to go, so let's do a preview of this project and see how it came out.
This slide represents the 4 stages of the spaceflight program in the United States. Click on each button to learn more.
So again, as I mentioned, you can move your avatar around the screen if he's blocking something here. Let's start off with single-person capsules.
Welcome to the dawn of American human spaceflight, Project Mercury. The spacecraft was essentially a tiny cone-shaped cockpit bolted to a heat shield, built for just one person. There wasn't enough room to move around. Astronauts often joked that you didn't ride in a Mercury capsule. You wore it. The entire focus of this stage was answering fundamental biological questions. Can a human swallow food, stay conscious, and control a spacecraft in microgravity?
All right, let's click the next one.
Mercury proved we could. Once NASA proved we could survive in space, Project Gemini stepped in to turn astronauts into true pilots. Gemini expanded the crew size to 2 and acted as an orbital laboratory.
The Apollo
Project
program.
Apollo is perhaps humanity's greatest engineering feat. Armed with the massive Saturn V rocket, Apollo carried a 3-person crew across 240,000 miles of deep space.
Now watch the next
This
button.
stage relied on a brilliant... Following the moon missions, NASA shifted its gaze from deep space exploration to establishing a permanent, working presence in low Earth orbit. Enter the Space Shuttle, the world's first reusable spacecraft.
And then, of course, next will bring me to the next slide and so on.
If you thought this video was helpful, please like and share it with your colleagues. If you need help with Adobe Captivate, hire Paul for one-on-one instruction. Paul's goal is to focus on lessons based on your specific needs. Visit his website at captivateteacher.com. And don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel.